Hey everybody, here we go. First walkthrough. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just take you through, building a. I think I kind of decided on just a kind of a creepy looking ogre head or orc head, something like that. I thought about doing a human, but reconsidered when it kind of gets a lot of people hung up on details that they shouldn't get hung up on yet. So I'm starting with something that is also a little more flexible in terms of interpretation. So no one's going to criticize it if your orc or ogre or whatever isn't looking quite right, because they never do look quite right. So that's my theory, at least. We're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to do this over a series of several videos, so you don't have to go through and try and find stuff that you're looking for. So this first one is really just going to be about blocking in the basic shape that I want, and kind of leaving it with that, and then we'll move on to fleshing things out a little bit. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so anyway, here we are. I opened up ZBrush, haven't opened anything yet, and what we're going to start with is just a Dynamesh sphere. Okay, and the one I want you to use is, there's several of them here in the light box, and these are under project. Okay, so there's 128, that's the resolution of the sphere. There's another one that's 32, that's lower resolution, and there's one that's 64. Okay, we're going to go with 128. It's pretty low res, but it already has Dynamesh turned on. Okay, and I'm going to show you that when I open it. So I'm just going to double click that, and it comes up with this. We want to make sure we have symmetry on in the x-axis. Okay, it should be automatically on because we opened up an existing project. Okay, and the projects come in set up with however they were saved. All right, so you don't have to do a lot of fancy footwork to get things to look like I did. You'll see that the screen got bigger, things like that. These little guys down here are shortcuts for tools. Okay, and I'm going to do a separate little video to show you how you can reconfigure the interface so that you can put things down here or up here, wherever you want, so you don't have to keep menu diving for things. Okay, and I will do that prior to this video, so you'll see this. You'll be able to figure this out as you go. It's really pretty easy, but I don't want to go into it in this video. I'd like to get it as a separate thing that you can refer back to. Okay. So once we got this guy in, we're going to make sure that Dynamesh is turned on. And if you watch the Dynamesh video, remember that's something that can quickly remesh your object given a set resolution that is set up in the Dynamesh tab. Okay, so to find that out, it's under geometry right here. So click on that. Okay, and you'll see this is highlighted. This button means Dynamesh is on. Okay, and the resolution I was referring to when we were in Lightbox is right here, 128. Okay, so what does that look like? That looks like this. Okay, so it's fairly dense. Okay, it's probably more dense than we need for this, but we're going to start with this just to see how that goes. Okay, otherwise I may just do this whole video over at a lower res. Okay, now I could lower the resolution of this by turning this off, going to 64 here or something else. I usually do it in powers of 2. It just seems to be more conducive to the way things work. Turn that back on, and you'll see what happened here. It got to be a lower mesh resolution. Okay, and I think that's actually better to work with. So I want everybody to do that. Okay, so with Dynamesh open here, turn that button off. Change this to 64. By the way, you can also type numbers in here. You don't need to use the slider. So 64, and just hit return. Okay, and then turn the button back on. Boop, like so. And that's going to give us this. Okay, so remember, you can rewind that and go over it 17 times if I'm talking too fast. Okay, just step through it one by one. Okay, so we're in the front view right here. Okay, you can see that here. So if you're not in the front view, if you're in some funky view like this, you can just drag on this guy. Okay, you can also drag your mouse and hold shift, and it's going to snap to the nearest view. When you hold the shift key down, you'll see how it jumped to the side view there, jump to the back view, and back to front here. Okay, back to front. Yeah. Okay, so that is kind of where we're at thus far. Okay, so what I want to do is just use the move brush. Okay, and remember you get that by going here, move, and you can use the key commands too, which is B, opens the brush palette, M and V, boop, boop, like so. And of course, that's why I'm going to show you how to do this, because these are much easier to grab than dealing with it the other way. You can also assign keyboard shortcuts for these things too, and I'll talk about that in the little how to configure the interface video as well. Okay, so I'm going to get myself a pretty good size brush here in the draw brush. And to do that, I just hit the S key and just drag left and right on the mouse. Okay, I'm going to leave the focal shift at 0, which means this inner ring is about halfway between the outer ring and the center of the diameter of the brush. Okay, and I'm just going to go to the side here like this and just push this in a little bit like that. I'm going to push it up this way too. I think I'm going to pull up the top a bit and maybe pull out the side. See, I'm making it a little more of an egg shape rather than a sphere. Okay, and you're just going to see me changing the draw size a bunch here. When I want to influence a smaller area, that's what I'll be doing. I'll just be tweaking that a little bit differently like that. Okay, so again, this is going to be sort of a creepy creature-y looking thing, so I'm making the head kind of squarish like that. I'll maybe just pull that up a bit, but I'm going to give it much more or less a blockhead kind of look. Okay, really squared off looking head. Okay, so that's the front view I want right now, and then I'm just going to roll this around and go to the side view. Okay, like that. Okay, and you'll see I've got kind of a shift here, and that is from the chin here, where I'm trying to move that in a bit. Okay, and that's kind of caused that little bit of dimple there, and I'm not worried about that. Okay, at this point it's no big deal. Okay, so this is my front, you can see there, and then this is going to be my side view, and I'm just holding down Option and dragging the mouse to move this around on the screen. Okay, I'm going to turn perspective off so that I don't have a lot of distortion there. And with the side view now, I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'm just going to start pulling this back. Okay, so this is the rear of the head right here. Okay, I'm going to push this forward a little bit, and I want to bring out some sort of an area for the nose and the mouth and maybe a chin here, that kind of thing. Okay, and I'm just going to push this up a bit like that. And I think I'll turn the frame off, okay, or the polyframe. That's Shift F. Okay, you can turn that on or off. Okay, and you want to make sure Dynamesh is still on. Okay. Okay, so I've kind of gotten a shape here that I think is kind of okay. I'm just going to peel this up. I want this to be maybe a little rounder here, like that. Okay. And again, the reason I want you guys to be able to just play with this is you don't have to worry too much about it looking like something in particular. Okay, so this is going to be my mouth region here, so I'm going to push that in at some point, and then I want to have kind of an eye area up here, the brow, and then the top of the head. So it's going to be kind of a little bit Neanderthal looking because it's got a kind of a sloped skull there. Okay, so that's okay, and here's my front. And here's my side. Okay, and if I hold Shift, I can just snap quickly between those. Okay, so this, like I said, this didn't really bother me because this is kind of perfect for the area where the jaw is going to be drawn in a bit, and then also coming up above that is the kind of the cheekbone where that goes up into the eye sockets and stuff as well. Okay, and that's useful for that. Okay, useful to just leave that alone. And at any time here, you can use the smooth tool here to kind of almost erase by just holding Shift, and you'll see that turns blue, and you'll see this almost just kind of ducks down inside itself again. I'm going to undo it because I liked it the way it was, but that's a really useful thing. So holding down Shift, cursor turns blue, that's smooth. Okay, so that's going to let you smooth your stuff, and that works with any tool you're on. Okay, any normal tool, the brush tools, the clay buildup, the standard tools, all that stuff works. Okay? Okay, so a little bit more then. I'm going to go to the front mode here, front view, drag this over, and I'm going to switch to the clay buildup brush. Okay, I could also use the standard brush for this. Clay buildup is a nice brush. It builds up off the surface of things. You can kind of see here how that, I'm just dragging here with that, like so. I'm going to switch over to my pen now because it's a lot more flexible to use. Okay, so that, I think I am. I better turn this on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm a little hinky here with that. I'm having some issues with my pen. Oh dear. Okay. I guess I'll go back to the mouse until I can figure that out. All right. So don't hate me for going back to the mouse. Okay. So one of the ways you can make this less coarse looking like this is by changing this alpha. Right now it's a square alpha and it's meant to look kind of chunky. But if you change this to a soft alpha like that, you can then use this and just start to get a much softer feel for it. Okay, so that's really, really helpful thing to have when you're working with something like this. Okay, so I'm just going to take the Option key and push down and just kind of make some holes essentially for where I think eyes might go. Okay, somewhere in that range like that. I'll leave a little, I'm going to make just a hole for the nose since it's an ogre, and then I'm going to peel in the mouth, looking very much like a classic, cheesy alien right now, which is fine. Okay, that's okay. All right. And then once I've done something like that, I will probably also go back to like the move brush and maybe just pull out some geometry for like the ear, somewhere in this range. Oops, I'm just going to want to pull that out a bit like that. And I can also do that with the clay buildup too. Okay, so I could just kind of pull that out, and these strokes build up. Okay, so see my intensity is at 20, which is it would seem kind of low, but they do build up over repeated actions. Okay, so the more you push on a given area, the more it's going to pull that out even more. Okay, so like I said, then I can start kind of noodling with the move tool again now that I've got some other things in here. To give me kind of a reference point for where the eyes and the ears and the mouth and stuff are. At that point, then I can go back to move, okay, and start crafting this a little bit more because now I know where things are going to go, okay? And that's kind of the point of a lot of this is going back and forth from tool to tool as needed. It's like this is probably needs to go a little bit further back, so I'm just going to kind of pull that back like that. Okay, in terms of where the ear would actually be on something. Okay, kind of crazy looking, huh? Like that. And then I'll probably just start, tweaking this a little bit more too. Get that mouth out. And you'll see everything is really low res at this point, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want to do anything higher than what I need at any given time. Okay, and that's a really crucial thing. You never want to get this number bigger than it needs to be at any given time. Okay, and like I said before in one of the videos, it used to be you do subdivisions to go back and forth. Now it's pretty much at this stage, Dynamesh and using the Sculptress brushes are the way to really make stuff happen. Okay, and this doesn't look like much yet, and that's perfectly okay, and it really shouldn't at this point because we haven't really done a whole lot with it. Okay, we're just breaking it out. Okay, now you can see I'm using the move to kind of build these eye sockets in a bit more. Okay, like that, and prep them for getting some spheres in there for eyes, that kind of thing. Okay. I'd also like to see a little bit more more chin work going on here, but that's okay. I'm not gonna sweat that too much. Now this is a little better. Just that one little move there, you'd get a little bit more of a real skull shape going on, which is going to help a lot. Okay, and then I want this brow to come out a bit more too. Okay, I'm just going to push that back a bit. And now this is a point where I would want to just remesh this, because if I look at this in my frame view here, I've got some weird stuff going on in the mouth. You see these stretched polygons down here? Those little guys, the eyes as well, probably around the ear as well. Yeah, so that stuff's starting to break down the geometry a bit. Okay, so again, watch what happens if I just activate Dynamesh. It's activated, but to recreate it, all you do is hold down Control. You need to have your cursor away from the object. Okay, so sometimes you'll need to make your cursor size smaller, your size smaller, so that it doesn't start overlapping things, because if it does, it's just going to end up masking it, because Control also masks like this. Okay, so with you hold down Control, you move outside and you just drag, and you'll see how it cleaned that stuff up. Okay, and now I can go back in and start to actually, I'm gonna turn that off, build this, up a little differently. Okay, like so. Start to push that back more, make room for a tongue or teeth, probably teeth more than anything, huh? Okay, kind of push that up like that. And build this in a bit more. Okay. And again, you can just keep hitting Control and re-dynameshing that thing as you go. Okay, it's loads of fun. All right. All right. So that's okay at this point. Okay, that's pretty much all I would really want to do right now, other than just, again, with the move brush, just start tweaking some of this stuff a bit more to give myself some other things that I'm going to be doing. Okay, and the main thing I'm going to be doing in the next segment here is to start building up some of the bones. Okay, the bone shapes, because that's really kind of a crucial marker in terms of getting some of this stuff to feel right. Okay, you just see I push that in a little bit, and I can also do that to some extent with the move brush. Okay, you can see if I get this smaller, I can start pushing and pulling some of this stuff out in, and so on. Like right here, I probably might want to pull that out a little bit, like that, and just start to get that built up a bit. Okay, so the next thing I'll do, I'm just going to stop this one, and then we'll go on to the next one, which is going to be starting to add a little bit more detail. So save this. Okay, I'll save it. File, save as Ogre Orc 1. Okay, we want to rename that. Ogre, oops, not Ogre. Ogre, not 0J, I can't see. Ogre Orc 1. Okay, boom, like so. All right, so stay tuned. I will do another one in just a momento.